The doors are closing. Train departing. Please hold on.
Welcome to MAX101. Today we'll be talking about why you might be stuck somewhere. Man, why are we stopped here? Why are we stopped here? Come on, go! Well, before you start yelling at your rail operator, no, he or she is not asleep. There are a quite large handful of reasons as to why you may be seemingly stuck in the middle of nowhere. Before we get into reasons as to why you may be stopped, first we'll cover some other reasons you may be going slower or whatever. You may be running at a reduced speed, which I talked about last time, or there may be some sort of work zone in effect, or some other restrictive thing that means your train will be traveling slower than normal. Another reason could be that the signals, especially on Yamhill and Morrison streets, are hard to time correctly. If you don't hit them just right, you may arrive at the intersection before your signal clears, and so you may be sitting there for a while before, and then you're able to pull forward again to the next. You may be sitting there, you may not. Again, it's pretty random, and sometimes you hit it real smooth and it works just fine. Sometimes you're stopping at almost every street. Sometimes you'll hit the first 4 or 5 and then you'll stop somewhere for a really long time and then keep going again. It's pretty much like flipping a coin.
These coverings are required while riding TriMet. Please maintain a safe distance of at least 6 feet from others while riding. The maximum occupancy for this vehicle is 26 passengers. Thank you. TriMet requiere que pasajeros usen cubrecajas. Por favor, mantenga una distancia de al menos 6 pies de los demás. La ocupación máxima de este vehículo es 16 pasajeros. Gracias.
Okay, but what about just flat out being stopped, and being stopped for a while? Well, one of the more annoying things about the system is this 108, almost 109-year-old bridge that every train line crosses. That's right, the steel bridge. If this bridge is ever lifted for any reason, trains will be holding at Old Town Chinatown, Union Station, Rose Quarter, and Interstate Rose Quarter platforms for the foreseeable future, until the bridge is fully lowered again. If it's up for just an overly extended amount of time, then they may get shuttle service running across, well, that'd be hard to do, but yeah, shuttle service, or every single station there around the steel bridge, right before you cross the steel bridge, the track layouts all around it are designed to make easy turnbacks, and so they may just end up turning trains back around there. It's annoying, but the steel bridge was built that way, again, almost 109 years ago, and that's just how it is. Yep. Here we go.
Speed door fountain. Doors to my right.
Puertas a mi derecha.
Signals, as I said earlier, are temperamental. Sometimes it just won't change for you. Sometimes you'll go and then you'll lose your signal or whatever, and they just won't change. Sometimes it just doesn't work properly. In even rarer cases, you might actually overshoot the call loop by mistake. If you came into a station too fast, remember when stopping your train, there's a call loop. Let's say this is a call loop. They don't look like this, but you've got to stop your train right on that call loop. And assuming you stopped in the correct position, the TWC buttons should be lighting up in your cab, same thing I talked about here, and you'll be able to call the signal. You'll be able to select your signal, same thing. And when you push that button, the signal is supposed to change. But if you came in too quickly and you overshot the call loop when coming to a stop, well, you're kind of screwed. But you may not be as screwed as you might be led to believe, because you can call into control, you can radio into control, and they can actually call signals for you, but you have to let them know first. But they have a system of, they're able to actually call the signals for you. So if your TWC thing stops working, like if your buttons just aren't lighting up for whatever reason, or if you overshot the call loop or whatever, number of reasons, you can radio in and say, I can't get my signal to change. Can you call it for me? Of course, it's a much longer process than that. You have to tell them exactly where you're at, the signal number, and what's going on and all that. But yeah, again, lots of issues with the signals. And it doesn't matter if you replace the signal equipment or whatever. You can do it as many times as you want. No signal or switch equipment is perfect. Another thing about call loops, or a container that once held 18650 batteries, the gates. The intersection gates. So they take a while to go down. If I'm stopped at a station that has an intersection immediately after it, something like Mount Hood Avenue, Merlot Road, Willow Creek, Oranco, Katama, any of those where there's an intersection immediately after the station, depending on the direction you're going, then when you're stopped there, again, you will stop your train on top of the call loop. But this time pressing the call button will, instead of changing your signal for you, your signal will still be red, but it'll make the intersection gate arms come down. But when you do that, they flash and they ring their bell a few times, and then the gates start to go down. Then after they're all the way down, there's a very deliberate delay in there for safety reasons before your signal will clear, either yellow or green or whatever. So after the intersection gate arms go down, it's still a couple seconds before it changes. Yeah, it can be quite a lengthy delay, but yeah, there you go. But again, if you stop on the call loop and you open the doors and you either forget to call the signal, or if you think you called the signal but you actually didn't, then you'll see the gate arms still up. And if you don't realize that you forgot to push the button, then, well, guess what? Now you got to push the button again, then they ring, and then the gate arms start to go down, and if you make a mistake, if you press the button too quickly, or if you think you press it but you didn't, or if you just, whatever reason that the gate arms didn't go down immediately, or if the gate arms are just flat out broken, which, yes, happens, then the gate arms may not go down at all, or they may go down really late, or there may be some other defect. And that could be another reason why it seems like you're sitting somewhere for a long time. I don't know if the Orenco MAX station has an issue, but a lot of times I'll notice I'll be on the train and the doors open and I don't hear the gate arms going down, even though I'm sure the driver must have pushed the call button, but I just don't hear them going down. Then the doors close on the train and we're still sitting there for a while, and then you hear them or see them go down. And so it just seems like we're there forever. And, you know, or any other reason, any other station. But that may be the most likely reason, is just a slight issue with the gates.
The doors are closing. Train departing. Please hold on.
The most frustrating thing is the dreaded mechanical failure. There are many ways brakes can go wrong, either the friction brake or dynamic brake or whatever. Or there may be some other issue with the doors not closing properly. Fun fact, the doors are the things that wear out the quickest on the trains because the constant opening and closing of the doors and a lot of sensitive latching equipment up there, it can break down pretty easily if not properly maintained. Now this is incredibly rare, but thanks to PDX Productions, I have a real treat for you. Possibly the rarest announcement that is built into these trains that you have almost certainly never heard before. Well, here you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to mechanical problems, this train will be removed from service at the next station. Please collect all of your belongings and board the next train. Once again, this train is out of service.
Damas y caballeros, debido a problemas mecánicos, este tren estará fuera de servicio en la siguiente estación. Favor de recoger todas sus pertenencias y aborde el siguiente tren. Repetimos, este tren estará fuera de servicio.
While we're talking about trains coming to a stop, it may be worth noting that if a mechanical problem comes up of some kind, there are two ways the trains can come to a stop. There's a hard stop or a smooth stop. Both of these may happen automatically if some sort of fault happens. If you pass a red signal or get tripped by a magnet for whatever reason, or if some major brake fault or any sort of fault happens that's major enough, you'll come to a hard stop. This means that on the braking scale, on this picture that I've showed before, it will stop your train using the MSB setting, the maximum service brake. This stops your train at a rate of 3 miles per hour per second. It's a rough stop. It's a very hard stop, and it's not fun for passengers. I have experienced it firsthand once, and I don't know the reason. It was, again, just some random mechanical failure. We were really picking up some speed, and then it just slows down. I mean, you begin to lurch forward quite a bit as it's coming to a stop, and then once you get onto the point where the friction brake clicks in, it's just a dead stop. You just right on the, you know. So that's a hard stop, and several things can cause that. However, if you overspeed, or if there's some other minor fault that happens that requires the train to come to a stop, but not, you know, this instant, then you may have encountered a soft stop, so it will brake much more smoothly until it comes to a stop. Now, as a passenger, I don't know if I've ever experienced it. Nobody probably knows whether or not they've experienced it, because again, it comes to a nice, from what I've heard, it'll come to a nice, smooth stop. So as a passenger, you'd never know that anything was wrong. But still, at this point, you would still have to radio into control and say what happened, say if there were any indications that came up, or why it did anything, unless it was an overspeed. If you were going above 58 or 59 miles an hour and the governor kicked in and stopped your train, then you can just ring the bell and proceed again. But if some other thing happened and it happened for no reason, then there you go. You may have to radio that in, but then you should be able to get going right afterwards. Also, in some somewhat rare cases, A specific train will not enjoy driving above a certain speed before giving you a smooth stop or sometimes a hard stop. Sometimes it's like, oh, I can't drive this train above 30 miles an hour, otherwise it kicks in and comes to a stop. So in that case, communicate with control, and you may still have to drive your train in service, but you'll never be able to go above 30 miles an hour. So if you're going on a train and it's like, why is it so sluggish? Like, seriously, we haven't gone above like 30 or 35 miles an hour for a long time. Well, that could be a reason as well. Well, I know there were a lot of cards that came up there earlier in the video. If you want to watch any of those videos, tap the screen now or hover your mouse over there and see if any of those look interesting. But for now, that will be it for this video, and I will see you on the next one.